Hello everybody, time for another installment of working on the Studebaker. I'm focused on the inner panels right now, and I've already begun the process, so let me show you what I've got going on here. You might recall from the previous video that I mentioned making this rear panel, so this one right here will be the first one. And because these bolts are here, if I ever wanted to remove the body, this panel would be in the way. So ultimately it might have a couple of screws down here and up here too. Yeah, I guess it could be riveted. I could always drill them out to access the nuts and bolts. So after I do that panel, then I'll do the two sides and the ones up front. Okay, I made a pattern. Let me show you that. Here's a paper pattern I made out of poster board, and then I used a Sharpie to draw the lines on a piece of, this is 40 thousandths, and cut it out, filed it, and now it's ready to put in. So let's go see how it fits. The nice thing about making the cardboard pattern is I can practice with it on how to actually install the panel. So this screw here is so I can hold it tight against this lip and see how it's going to work. This will give a place for these side panels to die into, and I can attach them with some brackets. Alright, I have to drill this out and rivet it or screw it into place. That should be alright. So here I've made a pattern for this inner wall. It'll have some curve to it. I used poster board. And then right here I have to make a little piece just so it'll fit properly down here. That'll be part of the pattern. I managed to get this piece installed. See, there's what it looks like without any inner wall. Okay, I've used the paper pattern to make the two parts. The right front is here and the left front is here. This is 40 thousandths 3003, and I need to bend a 3/4 inch tab on the bottom of each one of these. It's interesting, these are not square. They have a particular shape based on the shape of the body, so they're unique. I have to keep the orientation correct. So next I'm going to bend these tabs. So I've put the pieces in there just to show you the direction I'm heading. My plan is to put some shape into them. Here, let me show you. So the wood buck has this little swooping shape to it here, and then right here is where the bend is, right here. So I'm going to, with the English wheel, I'm going to try to put this little shape in it. It'll give it a little strength, and then it'll look better than just a flat panel. So let's see if I can pull it off. Alright, I have my panel here, and using the flexible tape measure here, I was able to determine where the center of the radius is, so I can make a reference mark on the panel. And then I've chosen an anvil that has this same radius. Alright, so now I just need to set up the wheel and make some reference marks, and I can get started. Now I'm using the rubber band on the wheel because I want a crown like this, not like this. Later, if I need a crown in that direction, I'll remove the rubber band, but this makes it curl in one direction. So I'll start easy and just keep adding more pressure. So after a few minutes on the wheel, you can see the shape is developing. That'll fit together nicely when I'm finished. It's straight up here and then it starts to swoop a little bit. I could leave it like that, but I could put a little more shape into it also. I left it just a little long to allow for some of that movement. So I could still, I think I'll put more shape into it. Alright. I added a little more shape to it, and I like that better. So I'll do the same thing to the other side. Then I'll run screws through this into the steel chassis is below underneath here. And then these will be rivets up here. Then I've left this gap because I'm going to make a small piece that is easier to fit. I'll rivet it in there and it'll kind of cover this. Alright, that's the plan anyway. Alright, that was fun to make. Alright, I managed to get the other side made. I got a little bit heavy-handed with the tension. Got some little bumps here, but I think it'll still be alright. Okay. Before I install these side panels, I'm adding these little brackets here just to stiffen this bottom on both sides. I'm going to rivet through here. Ultimately down there I'll attach it to the underside of the body, but it's a little flexible right there, so I thought I'd better add some kind of support. Alright, I like the shape and I like the fit, so I made up some half by half aluminum angle, and I'm going to use the shrinker stretcher to follow that shape, and then I can use this piece to join these two together with rivets. Okay. Here's the shrinker setup. So I've accomplished the shrinking. Now I have to do the stretching to finish this last little piece right there, and then trim it to length. That doesn't take too long. Here you can see how it's coming together. I can rivet into there, to this panel. Think it'll work out alright. Well, I'm finally making progress on the side panels. I installed these screws down here, and then the piece that I made. I haven't attached this yet, but I'm working across the top here. And it's coming together okay. Okay, I'm happy with the installation of the side panels. Went alright. And it really stiffened up these sidewalls. I was happy about that. Now I'm working on a piece that will fill in here. Just bending it by hand. Made a little notch down here. Bent that on the finger brake, and then this I'm doing by hand. And then I have an idea on how to make this transition right here look better. Okay. Here I've made both of these curved pieces, and now I'll punch some 5/32 holes in them for the rivets. Infinitely faster than drilling them out. Alright, let's do the other one. pretty good. Yeah. I'm pleased with the way this interior is coming along. I wanted the car to have a finished look about it. I'll do a little more work in there on the two lower sides, and that'll look much more finished when I'm done with that. Alright, continuing on. Here you can see the paper patterns, poster board patterns that I'm making. That's going to look pretty good once that's filled in. A little bit of a challenge getting that curve just right. And then I'll make some, bend some little tabs so I can rivet through the sides. Here I'm tracing the patterns onto the 40 thousandths 3003 aluminum. And then these locations are where there's going to be these little tabs. And then I'm in the process of making those. So I'll punch some holes for the rivets, the 5/32, and then that center line is where I'll bend it 90 degrees. And I'll have the tabs that I need. Well, I have to say, putting in those two lower pieces was a bit of a challenge. But they're in there nice and stout, and I like the way it looks. Okay. That pretty much finishes the inside. I've been working on this pattern here. This is poster board. And I'm going to make this out of 1/8 inch thick aluminum. And so that will hide all this transition here. It'll tuck underneath this lip just a little bit. But that'll clean it up. I think that looks a whole lot better. Here I have a piece of 1/8 inch aluminum, and I'm going to trace the pattern. I like to use a Sharpie to do this because when I remove the pattern, the inside line, inside of the Sharpie line will be the size of the part. And I use this poster board because it makes it easy to trace. Alright, that looks pretty good. Yep, so I go right to that inside line. Alright. I think it'll take me a while to cut this out. I have to use the bandsaw and then hand file it. So, a fair amount of work. I've been working on this piece of 1/8 inch aluminum for the dash. Very carefully filing it, trying to get as nice a fit as I can. I need a little more work. It's not fitting too bad. I need to work on the sheet metal edge here, get that nice and straight, and then a little bit of filing to get the height right. Yeah, that's coming along pretty good. So I'm working to install the dash, and there's a gap between this face piece and the bulkhead there. So I'm going to use a little piece of tubing to bridge the gap. And then I have a flathead Allen screw that ought to work pretty good. So I'll drill the holes, cut some tube, transfer it to the bulkhead, and pretty soon I'll have it installed. I'd say that's going to look pretty good. Alright. I think this is going to look alright. And these will draw it nice and tight against this lip here. I have it fitting pretty good now. I put these little blocks on here, little spacers, and they're going to be drill guides. So I just run the drill in there and make a mark. That should work out. And then at that point I can bolt it all together. Okay, the dash is installed. Turned out pretty good, I think. It was a substantial challenge. It took me a couple of evenings, but I'm happy with the fit and finish. And now I can move on to something else. Alright, it's time to get back onto the nose. I need to work on the bottom, get the bottom to curl under a little bit. Plus it needs to be smoothed out pretty much everywhere, and then the final fitting to the body. So alright, let's get to it. The first thing I'm trying to do is curve this bottom under, and then I'd like to get this peak here to run downhill a little bit. So I put it on the shrinker actually, and it's taking a shape. I pounded it over this pipe. I used the dollies. So I think next I'm going to planish it a little bit and see if I can get it to curl a little bit more. I'd like the bottom of the nose piece to more or less follow this curve right here of the lower body. So I traced these little templates I can use to get the shape more or less as close as I can. I think that'll look good. These patterns will give me something to shoot towards. This other one looks. So I'm getting there. I just keep working it. I've been trying to smooth this thing out, and it's hard to hold on to. So I decided I'm just going to get serious about installing it on the car. And I'm going to start down here in the corner, and I'm going to rib it all the way around, and I'm going to tweak it as I go. That way it'll be solid while I do the final finesse work to smooth it out. To be truthful, I'm not entirely happy with the way this nose has turned out. I'm going to go ahead and install it, but if it doesn't look good when I'm done messing with it, I'll rip it off of there and start over. It never did really come together the way I'd hoped. It's kind of out of square and it's kind of rough. It's cracked in a few spots. I think I can still salvage it, but it has to look good when it's on the car. So, like I say, I'm going to continue to put it on and see what happens. I had a hell of a time getting this thing installed. Right now I'm just using sheet metal screws, and I'll change it to rivets later if I decide to keep the thing. And it really doesn't fit that well. It needs a lot of work to get the shape correct. I may go a completely different route. I'm pondering it. We'll see. But before I give up on it, I'm going to try to shape the metal a little bit, see if it'll move around. You know, when I don't wear my glasses it looks fine, but up close I'm not happy. So okay, well, let's call this the end of video number 8 of building the body. So I'm happy with the progress this time round. Quite a bit of work on the interior, and I managed to get the nose installed. The big question is, will I keep it or go in a different direction? I don't know. We'll make that decision in the next installment. So as always, I appreciate that you watch. We'll see you next time.